First contact and misconceptions. The vast expanse of space shimmered with an otherworldly energy as the Zarkonian fleet dropped out of hyperspace, their sleek, crystalline ships gliding into Earth's orbit with an eerie grace. Admiral Xylos, leader of the expedition, gazed upon the blue-green orb through the viewscreen of his command ship, his iridescent eyes narrowing with a mixture of curiosity and disdain. "So this is the fabled Earth," he mused, his voice a melodic hum that resonated through the bridge. "It seems unremarkable." His second-in-command, Commander Vex, nodded in agreement. "Our initial scans confirm, Admiral. The atmosphere is barely breathable by galactic standards, and the gravitational pull is quite strong. It's a wonder any sentient life evolved here at all." Xylos flexed his tentacles, a gesture of mild amusement. "And yet, here we are, answering their primitive radio signals. Let us hope this isn't a complete waste of our time." As the Zarkonian fleet took up positions around Earth, the planet below was in a state of controlled chaos. In the United Earth Defense Command Center, buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Sarah Chen paced back and forth, her eyes darting between the holographic displays showing the alien ships. "Status report," she barked, her voice sharp with tension. Captain Marcus Rodriguez, her head of communications, spoke up. "The alien fleet has stabilized in high orbit, General. They're not making any aggressive moves, but they're not responding to our hails either." Chen nodded, her mind racing through possible scenarios. Humanity had long prepared for this moment, but now that it was here, she felt the weight of billions of lives on her shoulders. "Keep trying," she ordered, "and make sure our defense grids are at full power. I don't want any surprises." As if on cue, the main screen flickered to life, revealing the alien visage of Admiral Xylos. His translucent skin shimmered with bioluminescent patterns, and his multiple eyes blinked in an unsettling rhythm. "Greetings, inhabitants of Earth," Xylos began, his words translated by advanced AI systems on both sides. "I am Admiral Xylos of the Zarkonian Stellar Concordat. We have come in response to your signals, to evaluate your species for potential inclusion in our galactic community." General Chen stepped forward, her posture straight and proud. "Welcome to Earth, Admiral Xylos. I am General Sarah Chen, representing the United Earth Government. We are honored by your visit and look forward to peaceful dialogue." Xylos's skin rippled, a sign of amusement that the humans couldn't yet interpret. "How quaint," he replied. "You speak of honor, yet your world is divided, your technology primitive. We have studied your transmissions, General Chen. Your species spends more time fighting amongst yourselves than advancing." Chen's eyes narrowed, but she kept her composure. "With all due respect, Admiral, you've only seen a fraction of who we are. Humanity has made great strides in recent years, unified by the prospect of meeting other intelligent life." "Indeed." Xylos's tone was patronizing. "Then perhaps you won't mind if we conduct a more thorough evaluation. We'll be sending down survey teams to assess your world's potential. I trust you'll provide them with full cooperation." Before Chen could respond, the transmission cut off. She turned to her team, her expression grim. "Well, that could have gone better. Rodriguez, get me the president. Looks like we're going to have some visitors." As news of the alien arrival spread across the globe, reactions varied from excitement to terror. In New Tokyo, Dr. Yuki Tanaka, one of Earth's leading xenobiologists, watched the looping footage of the alien ships with a mixture of awe and frustration. "They're not even giving us a chance," she muttered, running a hand through her short, spiky hair. Her lab assistant, a young prodigy named Raj Patel, nodded in agreement. "It's like they've already decided we're not worth their time," Raj said, his fingers flying over a holographic keyboard as he compiled data. "But they don't know what we're capable of." Yuki smiled, a glint of determination in her eyes. "Then I guess we'll just have to show them, won't we?" Meanwhile, in the harsh Australian outback, A group of survival experts led by Jack "Dusty" McAllister prepared for the worst. Dusty, a grizzled veteran with a reputation for thriving in Earth's most extreme environments, addressed his team with characteristic bluntness. "All right, you lot," he growled, his sun-weathered face creased with concern. "Looks like the aliens have finally shown up, and they're not too impressed. But we know better, don't we? This planet's tried to kill us for millions of years, and we're still here. Let's see how these space squids handle a real challenge." As Dusty's team geared up, the first Zarkonian survey pods descended through Earth's atmosphere. The alien scientists, encased in protective suits, emerged onto the planet's surface with an air of superiority that was about to be severely tested. In the Amazon rainforest, a Zarkonian named Zyle found himself immediately overwhelmed by the cacophony of life surrounding him. The humid air felt thick and oppressive, and the constant buzz of insects set his nerves on edge. "This is barbaric," he complained to his partner, Nara. "How can any sentient species tolerate such chaos?" Nara, more open-minded than her colleague, seemed fascinated by the lush greenery. "It's certainly intense," she admitted. "But look at the biodiversity. There's so much we could learn here." Their discussion was cut short by a sudden rustle in the underbrush. Before either alien could react, a jaguar burst from the foliage, its powerful body a blur of spotted fur and rippling muscle. Zyle screamed, a high-pitched sound that only agitated the big cat further. Just as the jaguar tensed to pounce, a human figure swung down from the canopy above, landing between the aliens and the predator. It was Maria Cortez, a local conservationist who had been tracking the Zarkonian pod. "Easy, beautiful," Maria crooned to the jaguar, her voice low and soothing. She stood her ground, making eye contact with the massive cat. After a tense moment, the jaguar snorted and turned away, disappearing back into the jungle. Maria turned to the stunned aliens, a wry smile on her face. "Welcome to Earth," she said. "Lesson 1. Always be aware of your surroundings." Zyle and Nara exchanged glances, their earlier confidence shaken. This world was proving to be far more challenging than they had anticipated. Similar scenes played out across the globe as the Zarkonian survey teams encountered Earth's diverse and often hostile environments. In the Sahara, aliens struggled with the intense heat and sandstorms. In the Arctic, they faced biting cold and treacherous ice, and in the urban jungles of megacities like New York and Shanghai, they were overwhelmed by the sheer density and variety of human culture. Back on the Zarkonian command ship, Admiral Tylos received increasingly concerned reports from his survey teams. His bioluminescent patterns pulsed with agitation as he addressed his officers. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Our initial scans showed a Class 3 world at best. But these reports, they suggest something far more complex." Commander Vext, studying the incoming data, looked up with a troubled expression. "Sir, I believe we may have miscalculated. The humans' adaptability is unprecedented. They've shaped their civilizations to thrive in conditions that would break most species." Thylos's tentacles writhed in frustration. "Unacceptable. We are the Zarkonian Stellar Concordat. We do not make such errors." As the aliens grappled with their misconceptions, humanity was rallying. In the UN headquarters in Geneva, world leaders gathered for an emergency session. The atmosphere was tense but unified, a stark contrast to the political squabbles of the past. UN Secretary General Adebayo Okafor addressed the assembly, his deep voice resonating with conviction. "My fellow humans, we stand at a crossroads. The Zarkonians may have come expecting to find a primitive, divided world, but we will show them the true strength of humanity, our diversity, our resilience, and our unwavering spirit." Cheers erupted from the delegates, a chorus of agreement in dozens of languages. For the first time in history, humanity spoke with one voice, ready to face the galactic community as equals. As the first day of first contact drew to a close, Both humans and Zarkonians found themselves reevaluating their positions. The aliens, who had arrived with such certainty of their superiority, were beginning to realize that Earth and its inhabitants were far more than they seemed. In her command center, General Chen received reports from around the world, a smile slowly spreading across her face. "Well," she mused to her staff, "looks like our visitors are in for a few more surprises. Let's make sure we give them a proper Earth welcome." As night fell, the Zarkonian ships glittered in Earth's orbit, their crystalline structures refracting the planet's reflected light. But it was the world below that truly shone, a beacon of life, complexity, and potential in the vast cosmic ocean. The stage was set for a clash of civilizations, a test of wills and adaptability that would reshape the galaxy's understanding of what it meant to be truly advanced. Little did either side know, this was only the beginning of a journey that would challenge every preconception, forge unlikely alliances, and ultimately reveal the true nature of Earth and its extraordinary inhabitants. The challenge issued. As the first rays of sunlight crept over the horizon, bathing Earth in a warm glow, the Zarkonian command ship buzzed with activity. Admiral Xylos, his bioluminescent patterns pulsing with a mix of frustration and curiosity, called an emergency meeting with his top advisors. "This situation is unexpected," Xylos began, his melodic voice tinged with irritation. "Our initial assessments of this world were clearly flawed. We must adapt our approach." Commander Vex, still processing the flood of data from the survey teams, spoke up. "Admiral, perhaps we should consider a more direct method of evaluation. The humans have shown remarkable adaptability, but how do they measure up in controlled circumstances?" Tylos's eyes narrowed, a spark of interest flickering across his translucent features. "What do you propose, Commander?" "A challenge, sir," Vex replied, her tentacles gesticulating excitedly. "A series of tests designed to push the limits of their capabilities. If they truly are as resourceful as they seem, let them prove it." The Admiral considered this for a moment, his skin rippling with contemplation. "Intriguing. Prepare a proposal. We'll present it to their leaders as an opportunity to earn their place in the galactic community." As the Zarkonians plotted above, Earth continued to buzz with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. In the United Earth Defense Command Center, General Sarah Chen hadn't slept, her eyes red-rimmed but alert, as she coordinated with global leaders and military commanders. "General, incoming transmission from the Zarkonian flagship," Captain Rodriguez announced, his voice tight with tension. Chen straightened her uniform, took a deep breath, and nodded. "Put them through." Admiral Xylos's alien visage filled the main screen once more. "General Chen," he began, his tone carefully neutral. "After careful consideration, we have decided to offer your species an opportunity to prove yourselves worthy of joining the galactic community." Chen's eyes narrowed slightly, but she kept her expression composed. "We're listening, Admiral." "A series of challenges," Xylos continued, "designed to test your species' capabilities in various fields: scientific understanding, technological prowess, cultural adaptability, and survival skills. Succeed, and you'll be welcomed as equals. Fail, and well, let's just say your options will be limited." The implied threat hung in the air, unspoken but clear. Chen felt a surge of anger but pushed it down. This was not the time for emotional responses. "And if we refuse to participate in these challenges?" she asked, her voice level. Xylos's skin flickered with what might have been amusement. "Then we would have no choice but to conclude that your species is not yet ready for galactic citizenship. The consequences of such a conclusion would be unfortunate." Chen glanced at her advisors, seeing the same mix of determination and concern on their faces that she felt. "We'll need time to discuss this with our world leaders," she said finally. "Of course," Tylos replied magnanimously. "You have 24 of your Earth hours to decide. Choose wisely, General Chen. The fate of your world depends on it." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the command center in tense silence. "Well," Chen said, breaking the quiet, "looks like we've got our work cut out for us. Rodriguez, get me a secure line to the UN Security Council. And someone wake up Dr. Tanaka. We're going to need her expertise on this one." As word of the Zarkonian challenge spread, Earth's greatest minds were called into action. In her lab in New Tokyo, Dr. Yuki Tanaka worked feverishly, analyzing every scrap of data on the aliens they had gathered so far. "It doesn't make sense," she muttered, more to herself than to her assistant, Raj. "Their technology is incredibly advanced, but their understanding of biological diversity seems limited." Raj looked up from his own workstation, his brow furrowed in concentration. Could it be that their homeworld is more uniform than Earth? Maybe they've never encountered a planet with such varied ecosystems before. Yuki's eyes lit up. "Raj, you're a genius. That could explain their initial dismissal of our capabilities. They're judging us by standards that don't apply here." As the scientists worked to understand their alien visitors, Earth's military forces weren't sitting idle. In a secure facility beneath the Australian outback, Jack "Dusty" McAllister led a team of international special forces through a grueling training regimen. "All right, you lot," Dusty barked, his voice echoing through the cavernous underground training area. "These space squids think they can push us around. Well, we're gonna show them what humans are made of. Every environment, every challenge. We adapt, we overcome, we win." "Got it." A chorus of determined affirmatives rang out. Among the assembled soldiers was Maria Cortez, the conservationist who had faced down the jaguar in the Amazon. Her expertise in Earth's most challenging environments had earned her a place on this elite team. "Dusty," she called out, "what if the challenges aren't just physical? We need to be prepared for anything. Puzzles, diplomatic scenarios, who knows what else." Dusty nodded approvingly. "Good thinking, Cortez. That's why we've got eggheads and diplomats joining us for some of these sessions. Whole worlds coming together on this one." As Earth prepared, the Zarkonians watched with growing interest. In her private research pod, Nora, the more open-minded of the survey team scientists, pored over the data they had collected. "Fascinating," she murmured, her tentacles waving in excitement. "The variety of problem-solving approaches these humans employ. It's unlike anything in our records." Her colleague, Zil, still shaken from their jungle encounter, peered over her shoulder. "You sound almost admiring, Nara. Need I remind you that these are primitives we're dealing with?" Nara's skin flushed with a pattern that indicated mild annoyance. "Primitive technology doesn't equal primitive thinking, Zil. There's something unique about how they approach challenges. I think we may be underestimating them." Back in Geneva, the UN Security Council debated long into the night. The chamber was filled with a cacophony of voices, each nation arguing for their own interests while trying to present a unified front. UN Secretary-General Adebayo Okafor raised his hands, calling for silence. "My friends, we cannot afford to be divided now. The Zarkonians have presented us with a challenge, yes, but also an opportunity. This is our chance to show the galaxy what humanity is truly capable of." As the debate raged on, a compromise began to take shape. Earth would accept the challenge, but on their own terms. They would propose modifications to ensure fairness and showcase the full spectrum of human capabilities. With only hours left before the Zarkonian deadline, General Chen stood before a global broadcast, her face resolute as she addressed not just her fellow humans, but the aliens watching from above. "Citizens of Earth, and our Zarkonian visitors," she began, her voice steady and clear. "We have considered your challenge carefully. Humanity has never shied away from a test of our abilities, and we won't start now. We accept your proposal, with some modifications." In his command ship, Admiral Tsilos leaned forward, his interest piqued. Chen continued, "We propose a series of 5 challenges, each designed to showcase a different aspect of our capabilities. Scientific innovation, cultural adaptation, environmental survival, technological integration, and diplomatic resolution. We will face these challenges not as individuals, but as a united species, drawing on the strengths of all our people. She paused, her gaze seeming to meet that of every viewer, human and alien alike. We do not enter this contest lightly. We understand the stakes, not just for our place in the galactic community, but for the very future of our world. But know this, humanity has faced countless challenges throughout our history. We have stared into the abyss of our own extinction and pulled ourselves back. We have survived ice ages, plagues, and our own destructive tendencies. We have reached for the stars not because it was easy, but because it was hard. Her voice swelled with pride and determination. So yes, Zarkonians, we accept your challenge. But be prepared. You may find that in testing us, you learn something about yourselves as well. Earth stands ready. Let the challenges begin. As Chen's speech concluded, cheers erupted around the world. Humans of all nations, cultures, and backgrounds found themselves united in a way they never had been before. In labs, in military bases, in universities and towns and cities, preparation kicked into high gear. Admiral Tylos, watching the broadcast, felt a mixture of emotions he couldn't quite name. "Well, Commander Vex," he said, turning to his second-in-command, "it seems we may have stumbled upon something more interesting than we anticipated. Prepare the first challenge. Let's see if these humans can live up to their bold words." As the Zarkonian ships shifted in orbit, reconfiguring for the coming trials, Earth held its breath. The next few days would determine not just humanity's place in the stars, but the very nature of their relationship with the first alien species they had encountered. In her lab, Dr. Yuki Tanaka looked up from her work, a glint of excitement in her eyes. "Raj," she said, a smile spreading across her face, "I think we're about to make history." Dusty McAllister, watching the speech with his team, nodded approvingly. "All right, boys and girls," he growled, but there was a note of pride in his voice. "Looks like it's showtime. Let's show these aliens what Earthlings can do." And as the sun set on this momentous day, casting long shadows across a world poised on the brink of a new era, both humans and Zarkonians prepared for a contest that would change the course of galactic history. The challenges loomed, full of unknown dangers and incredible possibilities. Earth, the underestimated planet, was about to show the universe what it was made of. The stage was set, the players ready. The greatest test humanity had ever faced was about to begin, and the whole galaxy would be watching. Trials and revelations. The dawn broke over a world holding its collective breath. In every corner of the globe, humans gathered around screens, waiting for the announcement of the first challenge. The Zarkonian ships loomed in the sky, silent sentinels watching the planet below with newfound interest. In the United Earth Defense Command Center, General Sarah Chen stood surrounded by a team of Earth's brightest minds. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the xenobiologist, fidgeted with nervous energy. Jack Dusty McAllister, representing Earth's survival experts, maintained a stoic calm. Maria Cortez, the conservationist turned special operative, paced slowly, her eyes never leaving the main screen. "Incoming transmission," Captain Rodriguez announced, his voice taut with tension. The familiar face of Admiral Tylos appeared, his bioluminescent patterns pulsing with what could almost be interpreted as excitement. "Greetings, humans. The time has come for your first trial. We have chosen to begin with a test of your scientific acumen and adaptability." The screen split, showing a holographic representation of a complex molecular structure. "This," Xylos continued, "is a pathogen native to the Zarkonian homeworld. It is harmless to us, but lethal to most carbon-based life forms. Your challenge is to analyze its structure and develop a cure within 24 of your Earth hours. The cure must be effective, producible with your current technology, and cause no harm to human physiology." Dr. Tanaka's eyes widened as she studied the rotating molecule. "Fascinating," she murmured. "The complexity is unlike anything I've ever seen." Xylos's voice cut through her scientific reverie. To ensure fairness, we will provide you with a small sample of the pathogen, contained in a secure stasis field. Your time begins now. Good luck, humans. You'll need it. As the transmission ended, the command center erupted into action. Chen turned to her team, her expression resolute. All right, people. This is what we've prepared for. Dr. Tanaka, you'll lead the research team. Dusty, I want you coordinating with pharmaceutical companies worldwide. We'll need production capabilities on standby. Maria, your expertise in Earth's biodiversity might give us an edge. Work with Dr. Tanaka's team. As the team dispersed, each racing to their assigned tasks, Chen couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. This was humanity at its best, united, focused, and determined. In her hastily assembled lab, Dr. Tanaka peered into an advanced microscope, studying the alien pathogen with a mixture of fear and fascination. Raj, her assistant, worked furiously at a bank of computers, running simulations and analysis. It's like nothing we've ever encountered, Yuki muttered, her brow furrowed in concentration. The molecular structure is constantly shifting, adapting to its environment. Maria leaned in, her eyes narrowed. Reminds me of some of the more resilient organisms in the Amazon. Always changing, always surviving. Yuki's head snapped up, her eyes bright with sudden inspiration. That's it, Maria. You're a genius. We've been looking at this all wrong. We don't need to destroy the pathogen. We need to out-adapt it. As the scientists worked feverishly, Dusty coordinated with pharmaceutical companies around the globe. Video calls flashed across his screens as he barked orders and encouraged cooperation between former competitors. I don't care about your patents or profit margins, he growled at one reluctant CEO. The fate of the bloody planet is at stake. You'll share your resources and like it, or I'll come down there myself and give you a lesson in teamwork you won't soon forget. Hours ticked by, each moment feeling like an eternity. In the Zarkonian command ship, Admiral Tylos watched the humans' frantic efforts with growing curiosity. They're remarkably organized. He mused to Commander Vex. I expected chaos, but their coordination is impressive. Vex's skin rippled with concern. Do you think they might actually succeed, Admiral? Xylos's tentacles waved dismissively. Impossible. The complexity of the pathogen is beyond their primitive science. This challenge was designed to show them the limits of their capabilities. But as the deadline approached, excitement began to build in Dr. Tanaka's lab. Yuki, her hair disheveled and eyes bloodshot from hours of non-stop work, held up a vial of clear liquid. I think we've done it, she breathed, her voice hoarse with exhaustion. A biomimetic solution that adapts faster than the pathogen, rendering it inert. The lab erupted in cheers, but there was no time for celebration. The cure needed to be tested, replicated, and presented to the Zarkonians before the clock ran out. With mere minutes to spare, General Chen stood before the communication array, the precious vial in her hand. Admiral Tylos appeared on screen, his expression unreadable. Admiral, Chen began, her voice steady despite her racing heart. We present our solution to your challenge. An adaptive biomimetic compound that neutralizes the pathogen without harmful side effects. Xylos's eyes widened, his skin pulsing with rapid patterns of light. Impossible, he muttered. You couldn't have. We'll need to verify this, of course. Chen nodded. Of course. We stand ready for any tests you deem necessary. The next few hours were tense as the Zarkonians ran their own analysis of the human cure. Finally, Admiral Tylos appeared again, his demeanor noticeably changed. It appears, he said slowly, as if the words were difficult to form, that you have succeeded in this challenge. Your solution is innovative, unconventional. We underestimated you. A collective sigh of relief swept through the command center, quickly replaced by determined focus. This was only the first challenge, after all. Xylos continued, his voice regaining some of its earlier confidence. But do not become overconfident, humans. The next trial will test more than just your scientific prowess. Prepare yourselves for a challenge of cultural adaptation and understanding. You have 12 hours to rest before it begins. As the transmission ended, Chen turned to her team. Well done, everyone. But this is just the beginning. Get some rest. We've got 4 more challenges to face. While the humans celebrated their first victory, the mood on the Zarkonian command ship was decidedly less jubilant. Admiral Xylos paced the bridge, his skin flickering with agitation. How did they do it? He demanded of no one in particular. Their technology is primitive, their understanding of galactic science limited. It shouldn't have been possible. Commander Vex approached cautiously. Perhaps, Admiral, we need to reevaluate our assumptions about these humans. Their approach was unorthodox, but effective. Tylos whirled to face her. Are you suggesting that these primitives might actually have something to teach us? Vex's tentacles waved in a gesture of cautious agreement. I'm suggesting, sir, that we may have misjudged them. Their adaptability is remarkable. It might be wise to approach the remaining challenges with an open mind. The Admiral was silent for a long moment, his multiple eyes blinking in an unsettling rhythm. Finally, he nodded. Very well. Prepare the cultural adaptation trial. Let's see how these humans handle themselves outside their comfort zone. As Earth reveled in its first triumph, preparations for the next challenge were already underway. In a secure facility, Maria Cortez led a diverse team through a crash course in xenocultural etiquette. Remember, she emphasized, we're not just showcasing our own cultures. We need to demonstrate our ability to understand and adapt to completely alien concepts. One of her students, a linguist named Dr. Ahmed-Hassan, raised his hand. But how can we prepare for something we've never encountered? Maria smiled. That's the point, Ahmed. We can't prepare for specifics. We have to be ready for anything. Flexibility, openness, and quick thinking. Those are our tools. Meanwhile, in his makeshift command post, Dusty McAllister coordinated with anthropologists and sociologists worldwide. I don't care if you've never worked together before, he growled into a video call. We need every scrap of cultural knowledge humanity has ever collected, and we need it organized and accessible. Make it happen. As the 12-hour rest period neared its end, General Chen called her core team together for a final briefing. We've proven we can match their scientific challenge, she said, her eyes moving from face to face. But this next trial will test something far less tangible, our ability to understand, to empathize, to connect across vast gulfs of difference. These are the qualities that truly define humanity at its best. Dr. Tanaka nodded, her earlier exhaustion replaced by keen interest. It's fascinating, really. The Zarkonians clearly value adaptability, yet they seem surprised by our capacity for it. I wonder what that says about their own society. It might give us an edge, Maria added. If they're expecting us to be rigid or ethnocentric, our flexibility could catch them off guard again. Dusty grunted in agreement, just like in the bush. The creature that adapts fastest is the one that survives. As they discussed strategies and possibilities, a thought began to form in Chen's mind. Something about the Zarkonians' behavior, their surprise at human capabilities, nagged at her. But before she could fully grasp it, the alert for the next challenge sounded. Admiral Xylos's face appeared on the main screen, his expression inscrutable. Humans, your next trial begins now. We have created a simulated environment based on a neutral alien culture unknown to both our species. Your task is to successfully integrate into this society, learn its customs, and navigate a complex social scenario without causing offense or conflict. You have 6 hours. Good luck. As the details of the simulation were transmitted, the human team sprang into action. But even as they worked, questions lingered in the back of their minds. Why were the Zarkonians so surprised by human adaptability? What did these challenges reveal not just about humanity, but about their alien testers? In the simulated alien city, a small team of humans, led by Maria and Dr. Hassan, found themselves surrounded by bizarre architecture and even stranger inhabitants. The aliens here were vaguely insectoid, with iridescent exoskeletons and complex mandibles that clicked and whirred in an incomprehensible language. "Okay, team," Maria whispered, her eyes darting around, taking in every detail. "Remember your training. Observe, mimic, and most importantly, stay open-minded." As they cautiously began to interact with the simulated aliens, each gesture, each unintelligible sound, became a puzzle to be solved. Dr. Hassan's linguistic skills were put to the test as he worked to decipher the basics of the alien language. Back in the command center, General Chen watched the team's progress with bated breath. "They're doing well," she murmured. "Look how quickly they're picking up the gestural language." Dusty nodded approvingly. "Cortez has them working like a well-oiled machine, each of them focusing on a different aspect of the culture, then sharing information. Smart." As the hours ticked by, the human team made remarkable progress. They learned that the insectoid aliens communicated not just through sound and gesture, but through subtle changes in the color of their exoskeletons. Maria, drawing on her experience with bioluminescent creatures in the Amazon, was the first to notice the pattern. In the Zarkonian command ship, Admiral Xylos watched with growing astonishment. "Impossible," he muttered. "They're adapting faster than the simulation can introduce new variables." Commander Vex, her own amazement evident in her rippling skin patterns, spoke softly. "Admiral, I think we may need to consider the possibility that we have miscalculated. These humans are not what we expected." Xylos's tentacles writhed in agitation. "No," he snapped. "They must have some hidden advantage. Some trick we haven't discovered yet. Increase the difficulty. Introduce a conflict scenario." In the simulation, the human team suddenly found themselves in the middle of a tense diplomatic negotiation between two factions of the insectoid aliens. The stakes were unclear, but the potential for violence was palpable. Maria took a deep breath, stepping forward. Using a combination of gestures, sounds, and carefully modulated colors reflected from hastily constructed light panels, she began to address both factions. Dr. Hassan, monitoring the aliens' responses, whispered urgently to the team. "She's doing it. They're responding positively. Whatever she's saying, it's working." As the simulated crisis diffused, the human team's success became undeniable. Admiral Xylos, watching from above, felt a strange mixture of emotions he couldn't quite name: admiration, concern, or something deeper, more unsettling. As the 6-hour mark approached, the simulation faded away, leaving the human team standing in an empty room, breathless but triumphant. General Chen's voice came through their communicators, tight with controlled excitement. "Well done, team. Return to base for debriefing. We've got a lot to discuss." As Maria led her team out, she couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental had shifted. They had faced the Zarkonians' challenge and emerged victorious, yes, but more than that, they had learned something about themselves, about humanity's unique strengths. And as the humans celebrated their second victory, Admiral Xylos stared out at the blue-green planet below, his earlier certainty crumbling. These humans were proving to be far more than he had ever imagined. For the first time, a flicker of doubt crossed his mind. What if, in testing the humans, the Zarkonians were the ones being tested? The next challenge loomed, but now both sides approached it with new perspectives, new questions, and a growing sense that the outcome of these trials might reshape the galaxy in ways no one had anticipated. Tables turned. The mood in the United Earth Defense Command Center was cautiously optimistic. 2 challenges down, 3 to go. General Sarah Chen stood before her team, her posture straight but her eyes betraying a hint of fatigue. "Well done, everyone," she began, her voice firm. "We've proven our scientific prowess and our cultural adaptability, but we can't afford to get complacent. The Zarkonians will be adjusting their strategy, and so must we. Dr. Yuki Tanaka nodded, her usually neat hair disheveled from hours of intense work. I've been analyzing the data from the first two challenges, she said. There's something off about the Zarkonians' reactions. They seemed genuinely surprised by our capabilities. Dusty McAllister grunted in agreement. Been thinking the same thing, Doc. It's like they expected us to be pushovers. Makes you wonder what kind of other species they've encountered. Before the discussion could continue, the main screen flickered to life. Admiral Xylos appeared, his bioluminescent patterns pulsing with an intensity they hadn't seen before. Humans, he began, his melodic voice tinged with what sounded almost like frustration. Your performance in the previous challenges has been unexpected. For the third trial, we will test your species' vaunted ability to survive in hostile environments. The screen changed, showing a topographical map of a harsh, mountainous region. This is a real location on your planet. Xylos continued. Your team must navigate from point A to point B, covering a distance of 100 of your kilometers. You will face extreme weather conditions, dangerous wildlife, and treacherous terrain. Oh, and one more thing. The Admiral's eyes seemed to glitter with a mix of challenge and apprehension. A team of Zarkonian surveyors will accompany you. Consider it a cultural exchange. You have 1 hour to prepare. The challenge begins at dawn. As the transmission ended, the command center erupted into a flurry of activity. Chen turned to Dusty. McAllister, this is your arena. Select your team and gear up. Whatever the Zarkonians think they know about Earth's environments, show them the reality. Dusty's weathered face broke into a grim smile. With pleasure, General. I've got just the team in mind. An hour later, as the first rays of sunlight crept over the horizon, two teams stood at the base of a towering mountain range. The human team, led by Dusty, was a diverse group of survivalists, each chosen for their specific skills. Among them was Maria Cortez, her expertise in dealing with Earth's most challenging ecosystems deemed invaluable. The Zarkonian team, led by the scientist Nera, looked distinctly uncomfortable. Their protective suits, designed for the sterile environments of their ships, seemed woefully inadequate for the rugged terrain ahead. Dusty approached Nera, his face a mask of professional courtesy. Ready to see what Earth's really like? He asked, a hint of challenge in his voice. Nera's skin flickered with what might have been nervousness. We are prepared for any environment, she replied, but her voice lacked conviction. As they set off, the differences between the two teams quickly became apparent. The humans moved with confidence, their gear carefully chosen for the terrain. The Zarkonians, despite their advanced technology, struggled with the uneven ground and thin mountain air. After a few hours of hiking, the group reached a narrow ledge overlooking a deep ravine. Dusty held up a hand, signaling a halt. Weather's changing, he growled, eyeing the darkening sky. We need to find shelter before the storm hits. Nera's tentacles waved in confusion. Our meteorological predictions didn't indicate any severe weather patterns in this region, she protested. Maria smiled grimly. Welcome to Earth, where the weather plays by its own rules. Look there. She pointed to a distant mountainside where dark clouds were gathering with alarming speed. That's a supercell forming. We got maybe an hour before it hits us with everything it's got. The Zarkonians huddled together, their earlier confidence evaporating in the face of Earth's raw power. Dusty took charge, guiding the group to a sheltered cave just as the first rumbles of thunder echoed across the valley. Inside the cave, as rain lashed the entrance and lightning illuminated the sky, the two teams found themselves forced into close proximity. Nara watched with poorly concealed amazement as the humans efficiently set up camp, starting a fire and preparing rations. How? She began, her voice barely audible over the storm. How do you know what to do? Our data suggested this region was relatively stable. Dusty chuckled, the sound low and rumbling like the thunder outside. Data's all well and good, but nothing beats experience. Earth isn't stable. It's alive. Always changing, always challenging. You adapt, or you don't survive. As the night wore on, the Zarkonians found themselves reluctantly impressed by the humans' resilience. They shared stories of Earth's various environments, each more incredible than the last. Tales of scorching deserts, frozen tundras, and impenetrable jungles left the aliens in a state of disbelief. When dawn broke, the storm had passed, leaving behind a landscape transformed. The path they had planned to take was now blocked by a massive landslide. Nara's team was ready to call for extraction, but Dusty just grinned. "Now the real fun begins," he said, his eyes gleaming with the challenge. "Time to show you how humans handle a little adversity." What followed was a masterclass in adaptation and teamwork. The humans, drawing on their diverse skills and experiences, found innovative ways to overcome each obstacle. They forded swollen rivers, scaled sheer cliffs, and navigated through dense forests teeming with life. The Zarkonians, initially hesitant, found themselves swept up in the humans' determination. Nara, in particular, began to show a keen interest in Earth's ecosystems, her scientific curiosity overcoming her initial fear. As they neared the final stretch of their journey, the group encountered a new challenge. A massive predator, something akin to a bear but with scales and 6 limbs, blocked their path. The Zarkonians froze, their suits' defensive systems useless against such a creature. Maria stepped forward, her movements slow and deliberate. "Easy now," she murmured, her voice calm despite the danger. "We're not here to hurt you. We're just passing through." The creature growled, a low rumble that sent shivers down everyone's spine. But Maria stood her ground, maintaining eye contact. After what seemed like an eternity, the beast snorted and lumbered away, disappearing into the underbrush. Nara's skin pulsed with a pattern that could only be described as awe. How did you do that?" she asked, her voice trembling. Maria smiled. "Respect. Understanding. Every creature on Earth has its place, its purpose. We've learned to coexist, even with the most dangerous ones. It's part of what makes us who we are." As they finally reached their destination, both teams were exhausted but exhilarated. The Zarkonians, despite their advanced technology, found themselves humbled by the experience. Earth, they realized, was unlike anything they had encountered before. Back in the command center, General Chen watched the team's arrival with a mixture of pride and curiosity. The Zarkonians' reactions throughout the challenge had been telling. It was time to push for some answers. "Admiral Tylos," she called, opening a communication channel. "I believe it's time we had a frank discussion about these challenges and what they really mean." Tylos appeared on screen, his usual composure noticeably shaken. "What do you mean, General Chen?" he asked, a hint of defensiveness in his tone. Chen's eyes narrowed. "I mean that it's becoming clear these challenges aren't just about testing us. You're learning from us, aren't you? What's really going on here, Admiral?" For a long moment, Tylos was silent, his skin rippling with complex patterns. Finally, he spoke, his voice uncharacteristically subdued. "You're not entirely wrong, General. Our encounter with your species has been illuminating." "Explain," Chen demanded, her voice firm but not unkind. Tylos seemed to deflate slightly. "The truth is, General, that the galaxy we've explored is stagnant. Most species we've encountered have developed in relatively stable environments. They're predicta." Tylos continued, his voice tinged with a mixture of reluctance and awe. "Your Earth, it's unlike anything we've ever encountered. The sheer diversity, the constant challenges, the way your species has adapted to such a wide range of environments. It's unprecedented." General Chen leaned forward, her eyes intense. "So these challenges weren't just about testing our worthiness for your galactic community. You were studying us." The Admiral's skin rippled in what might have been the Zarkonian equivalent of a nod. "Yes, we needed to understand how a species could evolve in such conditions. The adaptability you've shown, it could be the key to solving problems that have plagued our Concordat for centuries. Chen's mind raced, processing the implications of this revelation and the remaining challenges. Thylos hesitated. They were designed to test specific aspects of your species' capabilities. But I believe we may need to reconsider our approach. In the background, Commander Vex stepped into view, her tentacles waving in agitation. Admiral, are you certain this is wise? Revealing so much to an untested species. Xylos turned to his second-in-command. Vex, these humans have proven themselves far beyond our initial expectations. I believe it's time for a change in strategy. Turning back to Chen, the Admiral's voice took on a more formal tone. General Chen, on behalf of the Zarkonian Stellar Concordat, I propose we alter the nature of our remaining interactions. Instead of further challenges, I suggest a collaborative effort. There is much we could learn from each other. Chen's eyebrows rose in surprise. This was an unexpected turn of events, but one that could potentially benefit humanity greatly. I'm listening, Admiral. What exactly are you proposing? A joint mission. Thylos replied, his earlier hesitation replaced by growing excitement. Your team and ours, working together to solve a real problem facing our Concordat. It would serve as both a final test and an opportunity for genuine cooperation. Chen nodded slowly, considering the proposal. I'll need to discuss this with Earth's leadership, but speaking personally, I believe this could be a positive step forward. What kind of problem did you have in mind? Xylos's skin pulsed with rapid patterns of light. There is a planet on the fringes of our territory, rich in resources, but with an environment so volatile and unpredictable that we've been unable to establish a permanent presence. Your expertise in adapting to extreme conditions could be invaluable. As Chen and Thylos hammered out the details of this new arrangement, the mood in both the human and Zarkonian camps began to shift. The adversarial tension of the earlier challenges gave way to a cautious optimism. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, listening to the exchange, could barely contain her excitement. General, she interjected, this is an incredible opportunity. The scientific knowledge we could gain from such a collaboration. Dusty McAllister, freshly returned from the survival challenge, grunted in agreement. Might be nice to see how these space squids handle themselves on a real hell world. Could learn a thing or two ourselves. Over the next few hours, as news of the changed circumstances spread, both humans and Zarkonians began preparing for this new joint venture. Teams were assembled, combining the diverse skills of both species. The remaining challenges were officially suspended, replaced by intensive planning and preparation sessions. Maria Cortez found herself working closely with Nora, the Zarkonian scientist who had accompanied them on the survival challenge. The two had developed a mutual respect during their ordeal in Earth's wilderness. Your planet, Nara began, her voice filled with wonder. It's so alive. Even now, I struggle to comprehend how your species not only survived, but thrived in such conditions. Maria smiled. That's just it, Nara. We didn't just survive. We learned to embrace the challenges. Every obstacle became an opportunity to grow, to adapt. It's part of who we are. As the joint human-Zarkonian team made final preparations for their mission, a sense of anticipation filled the air. This was more than just a test or a challenge. It was the beginning of a new chapter in galactic history. Admiral Thylos, watching the collaborated efforts from his command ship, felt a mix of emotions he couldn't quite name. Pride in his decision to change course, excitement at the possibilities this new partnership presented, or perhaps a touch of humility, recognizing that his initial judgments of humanity had been so drastically wrong. General Chen, overseeing the preparations from the Earth Command Center, allowed herself a moment of reflection. They had started this encounter facing a test of their worthiness, only to end up teaching their would-be judges a lesson in adaptability and resilience. As the joint team boarded the Zarkonian ship that would take them to the volatile planet, Chen addressed them one last time. Remember, she said, her voice carrying the weight of this historic moment. This mission is about more than just solving a problem or proving our capabilities. It's about showing the galaxy what can be achieved when different species work together, combining their strengths and learning from each other. The ship's engines hummed to life, and as it lifted off, both humans and Zarkonians felt a shared sense of purpose. They were embarking on a journey into the unknown, facing challenges that would test both species. But they would face them together, each bringing their unique strengths to bear. As Earth receded in the view screen, Dusty McAllister chuckled to himself. "Well," he muttered, "looks like we're about to show these aliens what a real hellworld looks like. This ought to be interesting." The Zarkonian ship accelerated, streaking across the star-studded sky. The original challenges may have been suspended, but the greatest test was yet to come. How would this unlikely partnership fare in the face of a truly hostile alien world?